My name is Bill Harris. I was in the 112th Airborne Signal Battalion from 1943 to 1946. I went through jump school down at Fort Benning, Georgia, and then I was transferred to Camp McCall, North Carolina. And I wasn't supposed to go into town during that time because we were on maneuvers. But I slipped off one day and went into town and had my picture made, and I was going to send it home to my mother. And I missed the bus back to camp that evening, and somebody told me they were having a dance. The USO was having a dance, so that's where I went. I went to kill some time at the USO, and I saw this girl out on the dance floor dancing. And when the dance was over, I went into the other room where the Coke bar was, and invited her in to have a Coke. And we got to talking, and to make a long story short, her and I were married that night, March the 10th, 1944, and we were married for 65 years. And that's where I met my wife, and that's how I met her. And when I went back to camp the next day, of course, my company commander called me in, and he was really upset. And the main thing he was upset about is I had saw him in town the night before, and he was going into a nightclub with two girls, and that kind of made him mad. And he was so mad he put me on a 76-man shipment out in 2 weeks. And that's the best thing that ever happened to me, and him putting me on that shipment. And what we were supposed to do, we were supposed to go into North Africa and open up a jump school there for the French underground. And we landed there in North Africa, and somewhere along the line, the higher command decided that they weren't going to do that. So the 76 of us was shipped out to Sicily, and from Sicily crossed over to the Boot, and went up the Boot to Anzio. And we got up there as just about the time Anzio was over with, and cleaned up everything up there. And then they moved us out to a place north of Rome. It was Mussolini's summer resort, and it was called Lido di Roma. And there was a nice airport there, and that's where we all loaded up and went into the French invasion of the southern France. I was in 7 different countries. I was in Africa, Sicily, Italy, France, Belgium, England, and back to Germany. The most scary one was the first night jump. As I was coming down, I was seeing this, it looked like a river down there. And as I got closer to the ground, I found out, I was getting ready for a water landing. And as I got closer to it, I found out that it wasn't water, it was a highway. It was a blacktop highway, and the moon was shining on it, making it look like water. And that's the scariest jump that I had right there. They call them sticks. 12-man sticks. And there's 2 sticks to a plane, plus the jump master. And when it comes time to jump, they have lights on there that the pilot turns on, a red or green or whatever. And when the red light comes on, that the jump master says, "Stand up." And then when the yellow light comes on, he says, "Hook up." And that's when you take your thing and hook up to what they call a static line. Now that can be a problem right there, and it was once. When you bring that thing up and hook it up, you have to make sure that it's outside of the webbing that you have on that's holding your parachute. And one guy pulled it through there. And when he jumped out, the whole damn parachute and everything went through that thing, killed him right off. And but they blamed the guy behind him because the guy behind you is supposed to check those things to make sure he's hooked up right and the webbing is right and all. Well, the guy behind him, I guess he was scared too. He didn't do his job. I understand they jump out the back of them now, but back then they jumped right out into the prop blast, and it'd blow you away. You jump out into that prop blast and it'd blow you away. Some of the guys used to jump out and raise their hand like this, trying to touch the tail as they went by, but it never happened. The combat jump wasn't too bad. Yeah, we jumped on it, and we really didn't know what to do because it was our first time, and we all they finally come around and said there was a German OCS school up on a hill there. We had to go up there and take that school and all the prisoners, and bring the prisoners down and put them on the boat and ship them back over to Italy there, and that was about it. Right near the end of the war, my unit was shipped to where was that? Liège, Belgium. And everybody thought the war was over, and even the high command. And they started shipping things out. And me and several other guys, they wanted us to put our motorcycles on this plane, and they were going to fly them all back to England. And we put all the motorcycles on the plane and tied them all down and everything. And they picked me to fly with the plane back to England and take them things off. Well, that's when I was in England during that time. That's when the Battle of the Bulge started, and that's the whole World War II. The man upstairs was looking after me, just like that right there, and I didn't have to shed a drop of blood anywhere, and I'm so thankful that things turned out like they did. It was the World War II. World War II was the best thing that ever happened to me. I mean, that's where I met my wife, and I got to see everything over there and do everything, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. A lot of people can't say that, but I can. I can actually say that. The best thing that ever happened to me. They had us in a little town outside of Paris, waiting to go to the Third Army, and I was trying to think of the name of that town outside of Paris. Maison Lafitte, outside of Paris, and they had us stationed on a horse racing compound, and they had us there in England. They had some of us stationed on the Queen's racehorsing compound, and we had several vehicles and no place to park them, so we cut down some trees. And they raised holy hell for cutting them trees down. We caught holy hell for that, cutting down the Queen's trees. Mine was, mine started off as a switchboard operator in the 112th Signal Battalion. And I'd work 12 hours on and 12 hours off. And that's the way my day was, When I got off after 12 hours, I just wanted to rest and be quiet and sleep, And that was my regular day. 12 hours on, 12 hours off. it was hard to sleep. All right, yeah, yeah. You just do every day what they told you to do. You know, they may have you on guard duty somewhere, and a lot of times I had to escort prisoners down to the ship there, and put them on the boats. I've done that a lot, and that was a typical day for me, either that or guard duty or something to that effect, yeah. You know. The main ones that got hurt was the gliders. They were the one that really caught it on those fields there. The way they done that, they relied on the French underground. They picked a spot, an open area, a wide open area, and the French underground was supposed to take care of that right up till the jump time. But a lot of times the underground didn't take care of it, and the Germans, they weren't dumb either, and they knew that was a perfect place for an invasion, you know, a jump. So they went around and they put spiked poles all over there. The memories that I remember is during the invasion of the gliders coming in and crashing into trees and those poles that I was telling you about, and it was terrible. That's a thing that sticks in my mind more than anything else. Everybody knew the war was winding down, and you've probably been told that they were getting ready to send us all the troops from Europe over there to the Philippines for the Japanese, and I was in Berlin when I heard the war was actually over, that they had signed the treaty, and I was still in Berlin when that happened. There was one that I lost communication with somewhere along the line. It's been at least 10, 15 years ago that I lost contact with him. His name was Dale Darnell from Chicago, and him and I were great big buddies all during the war. And whenever he went to town, I went to town, and whatever he did, I did too. We were just great big buddies. But I spent a lot of my time over there in Europe working the black market. I was really big into the black market. I had so much black market money, I had a dresser drawer full of money. It was just full of money. There's nothing to spend it on over there. You couldn't spend it on anything. They didn't have anything. And Eisenhower had come out with a ruling that you could only send your pay home plus 10% for gambling, and that's all they would take. You couldn't send any more home. And I finally, when I got on the boat, I had all that money in a bag, and I give it to one of the Red Cross girls that was handing out coffee. I told her, "Here you are. This is yours." It was full of money. And what she ever done with that, I don't know. She couldn't do anything more than I did with it. I had Italian Berettas, German Lugers, and a lot of that stuff after I got home. I lived in an apartment, and down in the basement they had it wired off certain sections for each apartment, and somebody broke into mine and stole a lot of that stuff. Stole a whole lot of that stuff that I had worked so hard in the black market to get. I got caught one time by the battalion commander over there in Berlin doing some black market. Stupid me, I was doing it right out in the open, out on the street. As I shouldn't have been. And he come over there and wanted to know what was going on. I had a crowd of people around me, and he wanted to know what was going on. He thought I was in trouble of some kind. And when he found out I was dealing in the black market, he sent me to the company commander. And the company commander put me on a 7-day lockdown. Couldn't leave the premises for 7 days. And the battalion commander wanted me to be court-martialed. But when he found out that the company commander had already punished me, he couldn't punish me twice. My old man, he gained a lot from World War II. He started off during the war as a police lieutenant at one of the shipyards there in Baltimore, Maryland. And it was so bad, after a year or two, he just gave it up, and he went with the American Red Cross. And after he was with them a while, they made him a what they call a field director, and they sent him all over the world. When the war ended in the Pacific, they sent him to Hawaii. And when the war ended in Europe, they sent him over to Berlin. And they just sent him all over everywhere. And of course, my mother followed him, when he went somewhere and he made arrangements. They finally transferred him to Fort Dix, New Jersey. And he come down with some life-threatening disease of some kind. And he passed away while he was there at Fort Dix, New Jersey. And, yeah, they let you have anything that you want. I came into where the old man was up there at Fort Dix, New Jersey. And when I got off the boat, that's where they took us, to Fort Dix, New Jersey. And they told us we could have anything we wanted. Of course, the first thing I ordered was steak with ice cream. I hadn't had any ice cream or anything like that since I left over here. And it was really great. The steak was the best I ever ate, and the ice cream and all, and you could make free phone calls. And it was really, really great. And, oh yeah, with my I couldn't wait to get home, and I left everything down at the barracks. They assign you to a bed in the barracks, and you're supposed to report the next morning over to someplace, be checked out and be discharged and all. I couldn't wait. I just threw everything down on the bed and caught the Greyhound bus into town, and with my family, of course, my whole family, uncles and aunts and uncles and everything were there, and we were all drinking and partying and going on, and they and it was really great to be home. I'll tell you, it was a good time. Yeah. Oh, World War II changed me completely. Of course, I was married during World War II, and couldn't wait to get home. And it completely changed me altogether, the way I thought about things and the way I planned my future. And it just changed everything about my life. It just means that, I'll tell you the truth, I don't know what it means to me. It's an honor to be part of Veterans Day for me, and the honor that I have really is this hat here. You can see that I've had the unit put on there that I was in, and on there, and World War II in the back, and I can put this hat on and go up to Publix, and before I leave Publix, somebody will come up to me and say how much they appreciated me being in the military during World War II. That's the thing that gets me. That's the amazing part about it. Something that happened 70, 80 years ago, and people show their appreciation. It makes you feel good, yeah.